Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I hope you are feeling calm today. Leo and I are very happy to be here with you again.
Hello, friends. It feels good to sit down and talk together. Sometimes I forget how nice it is to slow down and just speak.
Me too. Today, we want to talk about something very simple, but also very deep. We want to talk about the things you do every day without thinking.
Yes, those small actions that happen almost by themselves. You wake up, you move, you speak, and suddenly the day starts.
I think many of us feel busy and tired, and we do not notice these small moments. But these moments say a lot about our lives and our feelings.
That is true. When we stop and think about them, we can learn something about ourselves.
So today, we want to share some personal stories and simple thoughts with you. We hope you feel relaxed and understood while listening.
If you enjoy this kind of calm and honest conversation, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us, and it helps this podcast grow.
Thank you so much for being here with us. Now, let's start our conversation.
When I think about things I do every day without thinking, the first thing is waking up and checking my phone. I do it before my eyes are fully open. Sometimes I don't even remember unlocking the screen. It feels automatic, like breathing.
That happens to me too. I reach for my phone and suddenly I am reading messages or news. After a few minutes, I think, why am I doing this so early? I did not even say good morning to myself.
Exactly. I think it is a habit that grew slowly. At first, it felt useful, but now it just happens. Some days, it makes me feel rushed before the day even starts.
I feel the same. When I notice this, I try to pause for a moment. I put the phone down and take one deep breath. It is a small thing, but it changes the feeling of the morning.
That pause is important. Another thing I do without thinking is making coffee. I walk to the kitchen, fill the kettle, and wait. It is like my body knows the steps.
Coffee is also part of my morning. While the coffee is brewing, my mind starts planning the day. I think about work, messages, and tasks. Sometimes I forget to enjoy the smell.
Yes, the smell is nice, but we miss it. We are already in the future, thinking about what comes next. I think many people live like this, always one step ahead.
That happens to me too, especially on busy days. I brush my teeth and think about emails. I get dressed and think about meetings. My body is here, but my mind is somewhere else.
That is a good way to say it. The body moves and the mind travels. Sometimes this makes me feel tired even before I start working.
Same here. One day I noticed that I walk very fast everywhere. I walk fast to the bus, fast in the store, fast on the street. I asked myself, where am I going so fast?
Really? I walk fast too. I think it is stress. Even when there's no real hurry, the body stays in hurry mode.
Yes, that is exactly it. Hurry mode. I like that phrase. It means your body feels pressure, even when the moment is calm.
I like it too. When I am in hurry mode, I also breathe faster without noticing. Then later, I feel tense and I do not know why.
Breathing is another thing we do without thinking. Most of the time, we do not notice it at all. But when I feel stressed, my breathing becomes shallow.
That happens to me too. When I finally notice and take a slow breath, my shoulders drop. It feels like my body says thank you.
That is a nice image. Your body's saying thank you. I think our bodies talk to us all day, but we don't always listen.
True. Another daily thing is saying I'm fine when someone asks how I am. I say it without thinking, even when I am not really fine.
Oh, yes, I do that too. It is a polite answer, but sometimes it hides our real feelings. We say it quickly and move on.
I think we do it because it feels easier. Explaining feelings takes time and energy.
And sometimes we are not sure how we feel, so I'm fine becomes a safe answer.
That happens to me at work a lot. People ask, and I answer automatically. Later, when I am alone, I realize I was actually tired or worried.
I feel the same. At home, I also do small things without thinking, like turning on the TV for background noise. Sometimes I am not even watching.
Yes, the TV or music becomes company. Silence can feel strange, so we fill it without thinking.
Exactly. But sometimes when I turn everything off, the silence feels calm. At first it feels uncomfortable, then it feels peaceful.
I had that experience too. One evening, I forgot to turn on anything. I just sat there and it felt quiet in a good way.
Those moments are rare, but they are special. Another habit is eating while doing something else. I eat and scroll or eat and watch something.
That happens to me all the time. Then I finish the meal and think, did I even taste it?
Yes, exactly. Eating becomes just another task. When I slow down and eat without distraction, I enjoy it more.
It sounds simple, but it is not always easy. Our days are full and habits take over.
That is true, but noticing them is already a step. When you notice, you have a choice, even a small one.
I like that idea. A small choice. You do not need to change everything. You can just change one moment.
Yes, like taking one slow breath or putting the phone down for 1 minute.
These small actions can change the mood of the whole day.
I believe that too, and I think many listeners will recognize themselves in these habits.
I hope so. It helps to know you are not alone. We all live on automatic mode sometimes.
And that is okay. We are human, but it is also nice to wake up a little inside our own day.
That is a beautiful way to say it. Waking up inside your day.
Thank you. It is something I remind myself when days feel too fast.
Me too. Talking about these things already makes me more aware.
Same here. It feels calming to share these simple truths.
When we talk about automatic habits, I also think about how we react to stress. When something goes wrong, my body reacts before my mind does. My shoulders get tight and my face feels warm.
That happens to me too. I notice my jaw gets tight when I feel pressure. Sometimes I only notice it hours later when it already hurts.
Yes, exactly. The body holds stress quietly. We continue our day, answer messages, and do our tasks, but the tension stays with us.
I feel the same. And sometimes I do small nervous actions without thinking, like touching my hair or tapping my fingers.
I do that too. I tap my foot when I sit for a long time. I don't even realize it until someone points it out.
These habits show how our feelings come out through the body. We may not say we are stressed, but our body already knows.
That is true. Another thing I do without thinking is saying sorry too often. I say sorry when it is not really my fault.
Oh, yes, that happens to me a lot. I say sorry for asking a question or for taking space. It is like a reflex.
Exactly. Later, I think, why did I say sorry? I did nothing wrong.
I think it comes from wanting to keep things calm. We want to avoid conflict, so we apologize quickly.
That makes sense. It feels safer, but sometimes it makes me feel smaller than I am.
I feel the same. I am trying to replace sorry with thank you. For example, instead of sorry I'm late, I say thank you for waiting.
That is a nice change. It sounds more confident and kind to yourself.
It is not easy, but when I remember, it feels good. Another daily habit is how we talk to ourselves in our heads.
Yes, the inner voice. That voice talks all day, even when no one else is there.
Sometimes my inner voice is very strict. It says things like, "You should do better," or "You are too slow."
That happens to me too. I do not choose those words. They just appear.
Exactly. We talk to ourselves in ways we would never talk to a friend.
That is true. When I notice this, I try to soften the words. I say, "It is okay. You are doing your best today."
That small change can make a big difference. It does not fix everything, but it feels kinder.
Yes, kinder is the right word. Another thing I do without thinking is comparing myself to others, especially online.
Oh, that happens to me too. I scroll and see people doing amazing things, and suddenly I feel behind.
Exactly. I forget that social media shows only one side, but the feeling comes fast, before logic.
I feel the same. Sometimes I don't even notice the comparison. I just feel a little sad or heavy.
That is how it works. The emotion comes first, then the thought.
When I catch it, I remind myself that everyone has a different path. That helps me breathe again.
Yes, reminding yourself is important. Another automatic thing is how we respond to messages. I feel pressure to reply quickly.
Same here. Even when I am tired, I think I must answer now.
It feels like a rule, but it is not a real rule. It is just a habit.
True. When I allow myself to reply later, I feel more calm.
Me too. It gives back a little control.
Another daily habit is how we end the day. I often fall asleep while thinking about what I did not finish.
That happens to me almost every night. My mind makes a list when my body wants to rest.
Yes, exactly. The lights are off, but the thoughts are on.
I like that sentence. Thoughts are on. When that happens, I try to tell myself tomorrow is another day.
That helps. I also try to remember one small good thing from the day.
That is a nice habit. It changes the feeling before sleep.
It does. Even a simple thing like a nice conversation or a warm drink.
Those small moments matter more than we think.
I agree. Another thing we do without thinking is holding our emotions during the day and releasing them at night.
Yes, during the day we stay strong. At night, feelings come out.
Sometimes I feel emotional in the evening and I don't know why. Then I realize I was holding a lot inside.
That happens to me too. The quiet makes space for feelings.
That is why it is important to be gentle with yourself at the end of the day.
Yes, not judging yourself for feeling tired or emotional.
Exactly. Another habit is how we sit. I often sit with rounded shoulders, looking down.
I do that too, especially when I work on a computer.
When I sit up straight and relax my shoulders, my mood changes a little.
That is interesting. The body affects the mind.
Yes, they are connected. Even small movements can change how we feel.
Talking about all these habits makes me more aware of my day.
Me too. Awareness does not mean pressure. It just means noticing.
That is important to say. We are not trying to be perfect.
Exactly. Just more present, little by little.
I think many people listening will feel understood.
I hope so. These habits are very human.
And talking about them makes them less heavy.
Yes, sharing always helps. When I think more about these automatic habits, I notice how often I rush from one thing to another without giving myself a real pause, even when there is actually no one pushing me, and that feeling of rushing stays in my body for the whole day.
I feel the same because even on days when my schedule is light, I still move as if I am late for something important. And it takes effort to remind myself that I am allowed to slow down.
Yes, slowing down feels almost strange at first, like you were doing something wrong. But when you stay in that slower moment for a little longer, your body starts to relax in a very natural way.
That is true. And I notice it especially when I walk, because most of the time I walk fast without thinking. But when I decide to walk slower and look around, the world feels quieter and kinder.
That happens to me too, especially when I notice small things like the sound of my steps or the air on my face, and suddenly the walk feels less like a task and more like a break.
Another habit I noticed is how often I multitask without thinking, like listening to someone while also checking something else. And later, I realize I did not really hear them.
I do that too, and then I feel a little guilty because the other person deserves my full attention, but my mind jumps so quickly between things.
Exactly. And when I make myself focus on just one thing, even for a short time, the conversation feels deeper and more real.
Yes, giving full attention is actually a gift, both to the other person and to yourself, because you feel more connected and calm afterward.
Another daily habit is how we judge ourselves without noticing, like thinking, I was not productive enough today, even if I did many small things.
That inner judgment is very strong, and sometimes it comes from comparing today to an ideal day that does not really exist.
I agree, because we imagine a perfect version of ourselves and then feel disappointed when we cannot reach it, even though that version is not realistic.
When I notice this, I try to look at what I actually did, not what I think I should have done, and that helps me feel more balanced.
That is a healthy way to see it, because life is not just big achievements, but also small actions that keep everything moving.
Another thing I do without thinking is holding my breath when I feel nervous, especially before speaking or making a decision.
That happens to me too, and it is interesting how the body reacts before the mind understands what is happening.
When I finally notice and take a slow breath, it feels like I am giving myself permission to be human and not perfect.
Yes, breathing slowly sends a message to the body that things are okay, even if the situation feels uncertain.
I also notice how often I smile politely without thinking, even when I feel tired, because it feels easier than explaining my mood.
Haha, I do that too, especially in public places. And sometimes that smile hides how I really feel inside.
It is not a bad thing, but it is important to notice it, because your feelings still matter, even if you do not show them.
That is very true, and I think many people forget to check in with themselves during the day because they are so focused on responsibilities.
Yes, we ask others how they are, but we forget to ask ourselves the same question in a quiet moment.
When I finally ask myself, how am I really feeling right now? The answer is often different from what I expected.
I have the same experience, and sometimes the answer is simply that I am tired and need rest, not motivation or pressure.
That realization alone can change how you treat yourself for the rest of the day.
Another automatic habit is how we fill empty time, like checking the phone while waiting, instead of just being there.
Yes, waiting feels uncomfortable, so we escape into screens without thinking.
But when I stay with the waiting, even for a minute, it feels grounding, like I am back in my body.
I agree, because those quiet moments can be a small reset in the middle of a busy day.
Talking about these habits reminds me that awareness does not mean changing everything at once, but gently noticing patterns.
That is important, because too much pressure can make awareness feel heavy instead of helpful.
Exactly. This is about kindness, not control.
And kindness toward yourself often starts with noticing what you do without judging it.
I think that is a very comforting thought for many people listening right now.
Yes, because everyone has habits like these, and they do not mean you are doing life wrong.
They just mean you are human, living one day at a time.
As we talk more, I realize how many of these habits come from trying to protect ourselves, even if we do not see it that way at first, because our minds and bodies are always looking for safety and comfort.
I feel that too, because when life feels uncertain or busy, these automatic actions give us a sense of control, even if it is a very small one.
Yes, like checking the phone or staying busy. It makes us feel connected or useful, even when we are actually tired and need rest.
Exactly. And I think that is why it is important not to judge these habits too harshly, because they started for a reason, even if they no longer help us the same way.
That is a very gentle way to look at it. And I like that idea of thanking the habit for trying to help instead of fighting it.
When I started thinking like that, I felt less angry at myself and more curious about what I really need in that moment.
Curiosity changes everything because instead of saying, "Why am I like this?" you start asking, "What is going on inside me right now?"
Yes, and that question opens a small space for honesty, where you can admit that you are tired, overwhelmed, or just needing a break.
I think many people are afraid to admit those things, even to themselves, because they feel like weakness.
I understand that feeling, but I also believe that noticing your limits is a form of strength because it helps you take better care of yourself.
I agree. And I noticed that when I ignore my limits, my habits become stronger, like scrolling longer or staying busy for no reason.
That happens to me too, and it is like the body tries harder to get attention when we do not listen the first time.
Exactly. And sometimes that attention comes in the form of tiredness, irritation, or feeling empty.
When I finally slow down and listen, even for a few minutes, those feelings soften and I feel more present again.
Presence is such an important word because so many of our automatic habits pull us away from the present moment without us noticing.
Yes, and being present does not mean being happy all the time. It just means being honest with where you are right now.
That honesty can feel uncomfortable, but it is also very freeing because you stop pretending that everything is okay when it is not.
I think that is why simple daily check-ins are so powerful, like asking yourself how you feel while drinking water or taking a short walk.
Those small pauses can change the direction of the whole day, even if nothing else changes around you.
Another habit I noticed is how often I ignore my body's signals, like hunger or tired eyes, because I think I should finish one more thing.
I do that too. And later I feel worse because the body always remembers what the mind ignores.
When I respond to those signals earlier, I feel more balanced, and my habits become less extreme.
That makes sense because when basic needs are met, the nervous system feels calmer and there is less need for automatic coping habits.
It all connects, doesn't it? The body, the mind, and these small actions we repeat every day.
Yes, and that connection reminds me that change does not have to be dramatic. It can start with very small awareness.
I like that thought because many people feel pressure to change everything at once, and that can feel overwhelming.
Overwhelm often makes habits stronger, not weaker, because we look for comfort even more.
Exactly. So gentleness is key, especially with yourself.
I think that is one of the most important messages in this conversation, that being gentle with yourself is not being lazy or careless.
It is actually a way of building trust with yourself because you show that you are listening.
Trust with yourself makes daily life feel safer, even when things are uncertain or difficult.
And when life feels safer inside, those automatic habits slowly change on their own, without force.
That has been my experience too, because when I feel calmer, I naturally reach for my phone less or rush less.
The change comes from understanding, not from pressure.
Understanding creates space, and space allows choice.
I love that sentence because choice is what many people feel they do not have in their daily routines.
But choice often starts with noticing, not with doing something different right away.
Yes, just noticing is enough for today.
I hope listeners feel encouraged, not judged, when they think about their own daily habits.
I hope they feel seen because these habits are shared by so many people, even if we do not talk about them openly.
Talking about them makes them lighter and less lonely.
And it reminds us that change is possible, but it does not have to be rushed.
Slow change is often the most lasting kind.
I believe that too, and I am grateful we could have this calm and honest conversation together.
Me too, Sophie, and I hope everyone listening feels a little more aware and a little kinder to themselves today.
That is all we can ask for, one gentle moment at a time.